We're tackling a story that's got everyone talking, and for good reason. This one's about Chrisean and her young son, who's recently become the center of a storm unlike anything we've seen before. If you think you've heard it all, think again. The latest leaks and allegations reveal a troubling picture of a child with serious medical needs and a mother whose decisions are being questioned in the court of public opinion. This isn't just celebrity gossip. This is a deeply sensitive issue involving health, parenting, and the welfare of a vulnerable toddler. To start from the beginning, Chrisean's son is reportedly facing multiple severe medical challenges that make his care incredibly complex. According to leaks circulating on social media and beyond, this little boy suffers from spasticity, a neurological condition that significantly impairs muscle control and movement. For a toddler, this means he cannot move his limbs like other kids his age and requires constant assistance for even the simplest motions. On top of that, he is said to have a seizure disorder, which means that without proper medical supervision and medication, he is at risk of dangerous and life-threatening seizures at any time. But perhaps most devastating is the reported diagnosis of CVI, or cortical visual impairment. CVI means that the part of the brain responsible for interpreting visual information is damaged. So while the eyes themselves might be physically normal, the brain can't process what it's seeing, leading to partial or full blindness. This adds an entirely new layer of complexity to the boy's needs. We're not just talking about physical limitations here. We're talking about neurological, sensory, and developmental challenges all rolled into one. These are not conditions that can be overlooked or treated lightly. They require specialized medical care, therapy, adaptive equipment, and, most importantly, a caregiver who is always alert to the child's fragile state. What makes this story even more tragic is the mounting evidence that this level of care might not be happening. Allegations have emerged online that Chrisean was spotted out partying late into the night. At 3 a.m., no less, while her son, who should have been receiving full supervision, was allegedly left in an unsafe environment near a beach. The thought of a medically fragile toddler, possibly left unattended or under-cared for in the early hours of the morning near the water, has sparked outrage and deep concern from viewers around the world. This isn't a simple case of a parent needing a night out. When a child cannot walk, is prone to seizures, and cannot see, leaving them without reliable supervision is a grave risk. The social media community was quick to call out what they saw as reckless parenting, questioning how Chrisean could prioritize her social life over her child's immediate safety. The reactions were instantaneous and brutal. The internet is a place where people can be harsh, but even some of Chrisean's most loyal fans found themselves second-guessing their support. Comments ranged from disbelief and condemnation to genuine worry. Many expressed frustration that a child so vulnerable seemed to be caught in a cycle of neglect rather than receiving the care and protection he desperately needs. As the story evolved, more files and alleged reports began circulating. These documents reportedly reveal a chaotic home environment, with notes suggesting multiple incidents of neglect and poor supervision. According to these leaks, there were several late-night outings where Chrisean was absent, and her son was left with inadequate care arrangements. The idea that a toddler with such severe health conditions was left at risk while his mother was out living a party lifestyle hit a nerve with many viewers. The allegations become even more troubling when you consider the content of leaked medical records that allegedly belong to Chrisean's son. These documents reportedly indicate that the boy suffers from fetal alcohol syndrome, a condition caused by prenatal exposure to alcohol. This syndrome can lead to cognitive delays, physical deformities, and lifelong health complications. Additionally, the records suggest he experienced neonatal abstinence syndrome at birth, meaning he went through withdrawal symptoms due to exposure to drugs or opioids while in the womb. If these details are true, and that's a big if, considering the sensitive and unverified nature of leaks, it paints a very dark picture of the circumstances surrounding this child's earliest days and ongoing development. It would suggest that Chrisean may have struggled with substance use during pregnancy, which would have had a profound effect on her son's health. To understand the weight of these allegations, it's important to recognize how serious these conditions are. Neonatal abstinence syndrome means the baby was born addicted to substances and had to go through painful withdrawal. Fetal alcohol syndrome means lifelong challenges, often including intellectual disabilities and behavioral problems. When you add these to the boy's existing neurological conditions, it becomes clear that he's dealing with more than any toddler or parent should have to face. Fans have been pleading for Chrisean to stop relying on vague prayers and public sympathy and instead get her son the professional medical care and therapy he needs. Multiple observers have noted that the boy seems jumpy, startled easily by loud noises or sudden movements, which is consistent with his reported neurological issues. This behavior has sparked numerous conversations on Twitter, Reddit, and gossip blogs, with many speculating that this has been an ongoing crisis that's been hidden in plain sight. Many fans are now watching every clip of the child closely, trying to piece together a timeline of his development and care, or lack thereof. Comments like "he looks so distant" or "why doesn't he react like other toddlers" have flooded social media. While some defend Chrisean by emphasizing the difficulty of her situation, others argue that these signs of developmental delay and behavioral differences are not being adequately addressed. The debate isn't just about parenting anymore. It's about whether the child is getting the help he needs to survive and thrive. It's a call to action for anyone involved in his life, and a wake-up call for Chrisean herself. And now the question many are asking: how did this go unnoticed or unaddressed for so long? With a child who cannot walk, is blind, and has severe neurological issues, you'd expect intervention from medical professionals, social workers, or family members. The fact that the internet is only now learning these details raises concerns about what's been happening behind closed doors. The story also raises uncomfortable questions about accountability and responsibility. If the allegations are true, it means a toddler has been placed in danger repeatedly while his mother prioritized partying or clout. Many online are saying, some people just aren't cut out to be parents. It's a harsh sentiment, but one born from frustration and concern for the child's safety. Despite the chaos and criticism, there are still people standing by Chrisean, insisting that she hasn't done anything wrong and that no one has the full story. They warn against jumping to conclusions based on leaked documents and social media gossip. After all, privacy is important, and a child's medical information should never be publicly dissected. However, for a long time, rumors circulated that Chrisean was not providing a safe environment for her son. People saw her smoking and drinking while pregnant, and while many suspected these were bad signs, some were quick to defend her, saying parenting isn't easy and everyone deserves some grace. But now, those rumors are confirmed, and then some. The recently leaked medical records reveal that Jr was born experiencing withdrawal symptoms while still in the womb. This condition, known as neonatal abstinence syndrome, means that Chrisean was using addictive substances during pregnancy, exposing her unborn child to drugs that caused severe trauma before he even entered the world. Imagine that for a moment. A tiny baby, still in the womb, suffering withdrawal from substances like cocaine and opioids that the mother was consuming. This isn't just about mistakes or poor decisions. This is about a life that began surrounded by harm and neglect. The records confirm what many feared. Traces of alcohol, cocaine, and opioids were found in Jr.'s system at birth. These substances are extremely damaging during pregnancy, and the damage is now permanent. Jr.'s diagnosis includes fetal alcohol syndrome, a severe condition caused by prenatal alcohol exposure, which can lead to lifelong cognitive and physical disabilities. Fetal alcohol syndrome causes a range of problems, including developmental delays, learning difficulties, behavioral challenges, and physical abnormalities. In Jr.'s case, the damage goes even deeper. He suffers from a seizure disorder, which can be life-threatening, as well as spasticity, a condition that affects his muscles, making movement difficult or impossible. On top of that, he has cortical visual impairment, which means the part of his brain responsible for processing visual information is damaged, explaining why he often doesn't respond to things directly in front of him, including food or toys. Jr. is just 2 years old. At this stage, most toddlers are learning to walk, talk, and explore their surroundings. But Jr. cannot walk or crawl. He cannot speak and is limited to making faint squeaking noises. Despite all these challenges, his mother Chrisean has not taken the proactive steps one would expect. Instead, she has repeatedly asked the public to pray for him rather than seeking the continuous, intensive medical care and therapy that Jr. so desperately needs. Reports from the leaked documents also describe numerous instances where Chrisean left Jr. unattended in dangerous situations. One of the most disturbing accounts is that she left him alone on a beach at 3 a.m. while she went to a party. Other incidents include locking him alone inside a car during an argument on the phone. These are not isolated or accidental moments. They show a pattern of neglect that puts a vulnerable child at extreme risk of harm or even death. These are actions no responsible parent should ever take. When I first heard about this story, I wanted to believe that maybe Chrisean was struggling but still trying. Parenting is incredibly hard, especially under difficult circumstances. But these medical records don't just show struggle, they reveal a disturbing truth of substance abuse during pregnancy and continued neglect afterward. In private conversations, Crone herself admitted to using cocaine and drinking alcohol throughout her pregnancy. That admission explains a lot about Junior's condition and makes it clear that the harm done to this child was preventable. Junior's medical condition requires constant care from specialists, neurologists, cardiologists, orthopedists, and more. Yet, despite his complex health needs, Crone has never been seen taking him to common places like parks or social play areas where children learn and grow. Instead, the picture painted by these leaks is one of isolation and neglect. There is no nanny, no caretaker stepping in. Junior spends long hours under the care of a mother who seems either unwilling or unable to meet his most basic needs. Even more alarming is what viewers noticed in one of Crone's recent live videos. Junior flinched whenever she raised her hand. He tried to squirm away from her, and she laughed it off. That reaction suggests fear, a fear that might be caused by physical or emotional abuse. While some have suggested that his seizures could cause involuntary movements, the timing of his fear response has many worried that this child might be suffering abuse at the hands of the very person who should be protecting him. Junior's future is uncertain, and it's heartbreaking. A child who entered this world already fighting for life, now facing severe disabilities, neglect, and possibly abuse. Crone has expressed a desire to raise Junior with faith to teach him to turn to God. But faith cannot replace the medical care, therapy, and love that Junior needs if he is ever to have a chance at a meaningful life. He deserves more than prayers. He deserves real, tangible help. What's frustrating and heartbreaking is that despite all this evidence, some people continue to defend Crone. They say she is being unfairly judged or that she owes no explanation about Junior's condition. But when a child's health and safety are clearly at risk, denial only prolongs the suffering. The facts speak for themselves. Prenatal exposure to multiple harmful substances, neglectful and reckless behavior, and signs of possible abuse. This is not something that can be excused or ignored. These revelations also bring to light important questions about the role of Child Protective Services, CPS, and the systems in place to protect children like Junior. Hospitals are legally required to report suspected prenatal substance exposure, especially when multiple substances are involved. CPS then assesses the situation to determine whether the child should be removed from the parent's custody or if the parent is cooperating with treatment and providing a safe environment. Junior is still with Crone, possibly because she has agreed to some treatment and supervision. But the question remains, how safe is Junior really? And why has it taken so long for real intervention to happen? But with every new leak and shocking detail, it becomes harder to ignore the signs. The timeline of events, the behavioral clues, and the reports all seem to point toward a pattern that can't be explained away by mere rumors or haters. The most important thing to remember here is the little boy at the center of it all. What kind of legacy will Chrisean leave for him? What will he remember about his mother? Because regardless of the drama, the tweets, or the internet fights, this is about a vulnerable child who deserves love, care, and protection above all else. If Chrisean truly wants to turn this story around, now is the time. She needs to prioritize her son's health, get him into proper care, and step away from the distractions that are clearly pulling her attention away. The internet is watching, and more importantly, so are people who care about that child's future. We'll keep you updated with every new development. Drop your thoughts and prayers in the comments. Let's keep this conversation respectful but honest.